And now the 419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen.
Welcome back to another exciting edition of the 419. My name is Matt Killam, and this is Gretchen DeBacker, and this is Kevin Mullen. I'm just kidding. Well, thank goodness we were able to replace those two. They were a drain on the show, but those of you who have tuned in or watched know that's the case. I am lucky to have you both in studio today. It's a Monday, so a double thank you to you guys for spending the entire weekend here at WGTE, camping out to make sure that you're fresh and ready for the Monday.
No,
for those of you that were born under a rock, I do want to at least introduce you to
Rhonda Sewell.
Rhonda, who are you and why in God's name are you here to talk about the 419?
Well, I think I'm a culture amplifier.
I agree.
And so that's why I'm here, because that's what your show does. But in my other hats that I wear, I'm a very community-centric person and Director of Advocacy and External Affairs for the Toledo Museum of Art.
I don't want to embarrass you with your links of service to the entire community. I'm sure we'll get to that in portions of our conversation. You started out as a journalist, so you do provide also some credibility to the person sitting in the anchor chair here today. So I'm grateful for your time. Caleigh Heuring, you are a known entity, certainly to me. We've been buddies for a while. We met for the first time walking across the Maumee River in waders, which is a unique way to make friends. I feared for my life.
With bonding.
That's right. That's a trauma bonding. And regrettably, a good theme to the show. But Caleigh, is usually Mayor Monday, not to make you feel uncomfortable, but you are a bit of a mayor, in my opinion, about Destination Toledo and all the great things. So what better person to come on to celebrate not just who we are as people, but why people come to visit us. So give me a little bit of your bio, if you don't mind. I know they'll make you feel uncomfortable, but Caleigh Heuring, who are you and why in God's name have you done this to yourself on a Monday morning?
I am Director of Marketing and Destination Engagement for Destination Toledo. So basically I oversee marketing, communications, community engagement, and partnership at Destination Toledo.
Pretty easy gig. I'm sure people are lining up to thank you every single day for what you've done for them.
I mean, we have the fantastic job of just promoting all the great things that happen in the city. So thankful to your two entities for making my job incredibly easy 99% of the time.
We've got an important show here today. We've got two friends and real leaders in the community coming in for a myriad of things. Obviously, we're going to discuss a little bit about what occurred in the Old West End just a little bit over a week ago. Friends of the show, but friends of the community and leaders that have experienced it through different lenses are going to continue to guide us through the next portion. And when I say us through, I mean us as the region. So Vanice Williams will be here. She, of course, is City Council President and friend. She's the only person that did not have to get up early for this. I think she gets up around 3:30 in the morning anyway. So we'll be hitting her right about lunchtime. And Nick Komives, of course, City Council member, has been on the show as well, Old West End resident. So we'll get to that in the next segments. Again, a little bit of a juxtaposed to our normal show, which is we hope people find to be all fun all the time, but there's a positive light to be shed on it. But before we transition into that segment, a couple things to be looking forward to this summer, Caleigh, through your lens, or one thing in particular that stands out to you that you're pretty juiced about?
I mean, really, we're excited about
If you don't
the
say the Metro Parks,
activation
I'll cut that microphone right now.
of the riverfront. We're extremely excited
No, I'm just
about the
teasing.
activation of the riverfront. It's really like such a unique and fun time to be experiencing our city, and we're so excited to just welcome people to experience it. Because it's never looked like this before.
Yeah, and that comes through, of course, with partnerships. We're going to close out here our beginning with two qualified stand-in guests. Our next segment is going to be with Vanice Williams, the City Council President and leader in our community. Thanks very much for tuning in and watching the 419.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Welcome back to the 419. Obviously, we've got a great segment ahead here. Vanice Williams is here in studio yet again to talk about a myriad of things. Vanice, you know this show based on the time you've been here, and I'm sure what you do is listen every single day. Lends itself to the positive things that are happening in our area and the positive people and the leaders in that space. You exemplify both of those things to me. We have a topic that is only a week and a half old. You and I spoke over the past week. You are a friend, but first and foremost, you are a powerful leader. So at the risk of making you feel uncomfortable, let me tell you on behalf of a resident and as a parent, thank you for who you are and what you do. A lot of people forget that those of you in leadership are carbon-based, bipedal moms and dads and people as well. So you're scared, you're mad, you're sad, you're angry, and all those things are understandable. But you get to be that way for about 15 seconds, and then you have to put on a different hat, which you wear very well. So we're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
I know that makes you feel uncomfortable, but you got to just deal with it.
It doesn't.
We are proud to have you on today. I want to talk a little bit about how you became city council president. You are a longtime educator, and education, obviously, I think is a bit of our way out of here. Those are my words, but I think we can probably agree on them. But you got into civic leadership. Why?
For the kids, just wanted to do more on a bigger scale for the kids and try to affect neighborhoods. I mean, I know it's more grassroots being in local government, so it's easier to affect directly how people live and their quality of life at the local level. So that's why I wanted to get into it.
Let me ask you a question, Vanice, and it isn't just based on recent events. Any time in your life you're like, hey, I gave enough. I'm ready to hang it up and just go to Dave & Buster's in the pool with my family. You take care of a young child again. I won't say your age here, but you're not in your 20s.
Thank you.
Yeah, just out of your 20s. But lady, what keeps you upright?
My faith in God.
Tell me about it.
Service never ends when it comes to God and how He provides for us. So I won't ever stop until He tells me it's time.
Okay. Give us a little bit of background here. Obviously, you're not a full-time city council president.
No, because it doesn't pay for it.
That's right. So you talk about children, right? You fill your day with children before putting on your city council hat, or at least get to ignore your phone to some degree, which must be blowing up at all times. And largely that's just me sending you emojis, which go unreplied to. But that's not this show. Talking about your day gig.
I wake up at probably about 3:30 and I go down to my child care center, make sure I have a child care center just in central Toledo, and I make sure that the toys are arranged correctly and clean.
That's
and
right.
We have food and milk and everything. I might run down to Kroger's and run into some folks there and ask me questions, so I'm still working at all times with city council, but definitely take time out for the kids, especially in the summer.
What we're talking about, certainly in the aftermath of last week, still involves children, right? Vanice, can you tell me a little bit about the challenges that we face as a city and how we are potentially in a different day? But the reality is, I think that we're continuing to acknowledge that we've got some things we have to work on.
Yeah, we do have some things we have to work on. Honestly, when you see poverty growing across states and across the country, I heard, you talk about micro and macro. On a macro level, poverty is growing, but on a micro level, it's a tsunami happening.
Yes, ma'am.
With poverty and how, recent cuts to Medicaid, SNAP benefits, child care shifts, is definitely affecting us, and you can see it. You can see it in the faces of folks. You can see it in how crime rises. You can see it how much grass doesn't get cut.
That's right.
You can see it in the quality of life of everyday people. And we don't have anyone coming to save us. And so we have to think creatively on how can we mitigate some of the things that come as a symptom of poverty. Mental health concerns in our youth is the biggest thing. I've seen it in a upfront basis because attitude reflect leadership.
Say that again.
Attitude reflect leadership.
That's right.
If you see, and you think about it in a real grassroots, down to earth way, if my mom is having trauma or experiencing stress, I do.
That's right.
And that's what we have to consider in our everyday lives. So I think our youth are feeling the stress of their parents, or even an adult in their lives. Their teachers, they feel the stress from their teachers. They feel the stress from everyone. And so you gotta think about that, and we gotta think about that when we do our planning of events. We gotta think about that when we plan. And for me, I gotta think about it in our budget.
Yeah.
And so do my colleagues. We gotta think about what our priorities are and how can we shift some things. And sometimes some things have to be cut to help another area. And one area we can't cut is our youth programming.
One of the things that is challenging for me to think about this is there's something terrible that happens, and we think that terrible thing happened all of a sudden at 5:37 on a Saturday. And the reality is that it actually isn't new.
Nope.
You and I do not look the same. We are not from the same part of town. And there is all too often people think that this is happening in just one location by a certain look of people, or we are very fast to blame. There are people to thank here, but in the immediacy of this segment, this isn't the result of poor leadership necessarily. It isn't the mayor, it isn't city council. There are police on site. There is a ton of stories coming out of people who rushed in literally to the fire to help people. And of course, we believe that's what Toledo is. But one of the things I find the most challenging of how we are as a culture is we immediately want to blame as opposed to taking a step and looking in the mirror and saying, well, whether or not you think you contributed to this, that's something for you to decide, but we all have to come out of this together. No one is coming to save us. That is a true statement. Talk to me a little bit about what leadership means to you. You have got colleagues. You are quite literally seeing the face of this, and you lived a great deal of this. You've talked a long time about boxing, saving the lives of people who you care about a great deal. It doesn't matter what the thing is that people are doing. They have to have stuff to do. So talk to me a little bit about not playing the blame game and leading our way out of this.
It's quick for people to point fingers.
That's right.
But sometimes you have to turn it around on yourself. What could I have done? What am I doing? And as a public figure, I'm willing to eat that sometimes.
Yes.
I'm willing to take and that's what we get elected for. We get elected so we can take blame, and probably never get the kudos either. But I'm okay with that because at the end result, if I save one child's life or one family's life, that's okay with me because that's one family that can save another family and save another family. So my thing as we go forward as a community, I want to focus on the positives of what happened that day. Community came together. Yes, you had the thumb thugs come and say all they want to say behind the screens and hide behind their Twitter fingers is what they call them. I call them thumb thugs. I challenge everybody to get out and do something. But you saw heroes that day.
Yes, ma'am.
The police, the fire, everyday nurses.
That's right.
You saw the victims, you saw everybody there pulling together. And I said it at our press conference on this past week, Triumph can come from tragedy.
That's right.
We can focus on the positive now. What did we see that day? We saw our first responders stand up and say, hey, this is what I signed up to do and I'm going to do it well. You saw nurses. It was 2 nurses that actually stood out and they were doing tourniquets and stopping bleeding. And you see heroes out of horror. And we got to uplift them and find more people because now you can have a kid see that and say, oh, she saved a life. I want to be like her. Or he saved a life, or he stopped more people from getting shot as a police officer. And, you just see I always try to see the glass half full. This was a horrible, horrific thing.
I think just to provide some context for those people who may have not be aware of the situation, at the risk of having a tape show, is that you are behind information that's coming out. Again, it's hit national news, and it's certainly been the conversation, but there was a shooting in the Old West End Festival in the Arboretum. It happened about 5:37 in the early evening or late afternoon, depending on how you look at it. So that's the incident, of course, we're talking about here, and that's if you haven't heard about it. It represents a culmination of a million things. It's not new, by the way, to the community. The Polish Festival has been canceled for about a decade for this exact same thing. So it isn't necessarily today's kids, right? It isn't today's parents. It is a culmination of events. Vanice, I'm going to put you a little bit back on the spot again, and I'm going to have you disregard all funding in all practicality. Are there a couple things, if you had a magic wand, that you would bring immediately into our summers or into our city, even if it's the direct answer is $10 trillion? Drop that down to me. What is something that you would do tomorrow if you were not confined by time, space, or currency?
I would focus on that age group that usually don't get focused on.
Tell me what that is.
14 to 18-year-olds typically are not considered in planning of events. People say family fun things, but they don't consider that older middle part of the family, which is 14 to 18-year-olds. A lot of times when you plan for those situations, and I ran a dropout recovery with 16 to 22-year-olds. And so in planning those events, you have to listen to what they say.
Listen.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, you hear a lot of people, well, they just don't listen. Well, who's talking to them? Or they're not doing what we told them to do, and they should know right from wrong. Who taught them?
That's right.
You can't assume anything. You have to consider everything. And so when you do plan events, and I challenge the community to consider them. I know that it's hard sometimes. Create a panel of 14 to 18-year-olds when you're planning and say, hey, what you want at this event? And guess what? They're going to tell you.
There's two pieces of this. Friends can tell friends the truth. Vanice, in full candor, we talked immediately about my role during my day jobs with the Metro Parks. You challenged me to do better in that group. Again, we only get better by telling each other the truth and asking each other to do better. So I appreciate you trusting me and putting me on the spot. My phone is always available to you. I respond to you, which I wish I could say was vice versa, but it isn't. That's fine. You're probably just going to get back to it.
I do respond to you.
There's one thing you made mention of. That is planning for the kids to do things, but employment is also important, right? There are people who are putting on these things that need bodies, as we talk about all the time. We can't find enough people, right? And it isn't as easy as that, because if any of us could choose, we would probably choose not to work. Rhonda's been talking about this vacation I was invited on for about 5 weeks now, and I just hate every single thing about it. And I'm going to plant heroin in Gretchen's backpack if I have to ruin that time. But you've talked a little bit about planning them in the events, right? But talk to me about jobs for kids and people, right?
There was a time period when I was a teenager, I couldn't wait to get 14. I wanted to go work for the zoo because they had this program called PIC. It was Private Institute, I can't remember, Private Industry Corporation. It ran for 19 years, where a bunch of organizations came together, and employers and businesses came together, and they had a board, and they ran this program for decades, for 19 years. In the 20th year, the county took it over, and it kind of dissipated after that. And then the county picked it back up through a grant program through Pathways, and now Harbor has that program as well. Those programs only target the low income to moderate income, 14 to 20. I think they go up to 21-year-olds. When you talk to youth, all they say is, "I need money."
Yes.
But they also need to be wore out. If they go to work, guess what? They're going to be tired.
That's right.
Put them to work. At 16, I had a job at KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, but it's KFC now. But kids want to work. You put them to work, and guess what? The hours that they work now, the state has given schools the ability to give them credit. High school credit to go to work.
Vanice, I'm going to toss it over. Rhonda, you work in a world-class facility that is in this neighborhood. You have made it part of the neighborhood, not just on your own, but part of your group. We're closing out here, so I've not provided enough time. But within about a minute and 30 seconds, talk to me about being of the community, but just as importantly, in the community. What does that mean to you, and what is TMA doing to plug into this group? And have for a long time.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that. And just to piggyback very quickly, thank you for your leadership, not just through this incident, but always.
Thank you.
A lot of us anchor institutions look at you as the top dog, and you are the president of City Council, but you do such a great job advocating. So wanted to say that, yes, it is under Dr. Adam Levine, the current director. his mission is to definitely reach the 2-mile radius around the museum. And we found that that's 5 underrepresented zip codes.
That's right.
And one of those being Old West End and surrounding areas. So it is our mission to do what we call a transition to active outreach, to go into the community instead of always expecting people to come into this neoclassical, very intimidating looking building who don't have a history of, engagement with an art museum. So that's what we're doing, and now we're expanding into the rural areas as well. And it has created such a synergy.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Vanice, we're closing out with you. I'm not going to put you on the spot to say something inspiring. I'm going to close out by saying thank you. Thank you for the energy that you're providing to this. Again, you picked yourself up, and I know that you are the heartbeat of our neighborhoods and of our people, and that's not an easy gig. We're going to need you to pull us out too. So thanks in advance for what you'll be doing for us in our future. All right, we're closing out our first segment here. We're going to have Nick Komives come out, who of course is City Councilman and also Old West End. Thank you for tuning in.
To me, community means connecting to others.
I'm Donnie Miller, and welcome to The Point.
I love PBS Kids!
We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the Old West End. Pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Vision loss for people is not the end. It's a story. It's the next chapter.
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
The 419 at 7 a.m. on YouTube, 3 p.m. on FM 91, and 6 p.m. on WGTE Connects. It's the 419 powered by WGTE.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
Welcome back to the 419. My name is Matt Killam, and I am joined by 2 guest hosts in the absence of my 2 buddies who are out on leave, if you will. Rhonda Sewell and Caleigh Heuring, which I was corrected in earlier. It is wonderful to have you both. We are a celebratory show. We talk about the great stories in Northwest Ohio and in Toledo. That is no different today, of course, but we have had some things happen in our community that we would be remiss to just blow by. So on the doorstep, or back door, if you will, of those tragic events, we'll be talking with the people who lead us in and out of those things and all the things that will do us better. And by us, I mean us. Nick, make no bones about it. You are a friend. We are neighbors in the Old West End. I know you to be a leader and just a warm, kind heart. So this has been, I'm not qualified to talk about what this has been for you, but I can tell you as somebody who's concerned gravely about how we take care of our refuse, this is a whole new level of pain and leadership. So Vanice was on earlier. I know you guys passed each other in the hallway on your way out, so let me exchange this in proper fashion to you. Thank you for your leadership. I'm sure that you were a mess as not just the events occurred, but your phones blew up after the shooting in the Old West End Festival. Of course, we don't believe that is who we are, but we do immediately go into the blame game, and people need our leaders to be non-human during those times. So the human being, Nick Komives, I love you. The leader, I was particularly impassioned by the press conference that was held last week. There were a myriad of people speaking from the heart, right? But we can talk about things that are on t-shirts or bumper stickers for a long time, but we do need resolve. I think that your comments that day, sir, represented both. It is okay to be human, but it is okay to also ask us to be better, right? And we can only go so far when we start figuring out who's to blame. It wasn't 2 young people that opened fire in an arboretum at 5:37 in the afternoon. It is a cultural challenge. It is a global problem. I don't want to blame Washington. I don't want to blame Columbus, Ohio. What I want to do is get us out of this. Talk to me about the comments you made, and at the risk of outing you in terms of your process, how do you write something like that, and how do you pick yourself up and answer the phone in the way people need?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for your kind words. This week has been one of the toughest of my life. I'm about to cry.
Sure, that's totally appropriate, Nick.
Yeah, it's, you're absolutely right. I don't know how to describe what my phone was doing immediately.
That's right.
I was half a block away. Yep. I heard the gunfire.
That's right.
I saw the terror on people's faces as they ran, and many of those people were people I knew, you know. The Old West End Festival is one of the most magical events that I think happens in Toledo. It is a time where we as Old West Enders really get to show off who we are through caring for our homes and our history and our yards as a way to show neighborly pride in who we are. We are a community that welcomes everyone in, and that is exactly why our festival has always remained open. And I don't think that that spirit is lost on us even in this moment, which I think is perhaps one of the more beautiful things that I felt coming out of the experience. But the sheer terror of Saturday night was an awful lot. I talked with people that night who applied first aid immediately to folks. I engaged with a person who was home alone after the experience, right? We forget about what happens to people in the aftermath of something like this, because there were 12 people who we needed to attend to immediately, otherwise they lose their life, potentially. There were also a lot of people who were either present and actually witnessed it, maybe they were within distance of hearing it, perhaps they received a phone call from a loved one who expressed how terrifying this experience was, right? And all of those people are impacted. And so
I think you bring up a good point, Nick. Pardon my interruption, but there are people who have been celebrating the Old West End Festival and have lived in houses, the third owner of a house that was built in 1890, fill in the blank.
Yes.
So they're impacted by that. One thing I do think is a dangerously inaccurate statement is that our innocence has all of a sudden been lost. The reason why I think that that's inappropriate and potentially irresponsible, not as a criticism of the people that articulate in that fashion, is to pretend that this occurred only at 5:37 on a Saturday is a misjustice to all the people that have been struggling in this space, right? We are all to blame and we all need to come out of this. Your speech articulated that, sir, but I am interested in, just for a second, the man that had to then write that. You have people who love you and support you, but you eventually then had to sit down and decide how you wanted to talk about that. It is not necessarily the human portion of it, but I want to back in the human portion of it later. You had to sit with yourself, pull yourself together, and lead. Talk to me about where you sat and where that happened.
I started writing comments on Saturday night. I was out among, with my neighbors, trying to find people, trying to identify folks who might be alone, like the person I was talking about that night who had provided aid, right? And every time he closed his eyes, that's what he was seeing. Every time he opened his phone, that's what he was seeing, right? It was important to take care of those folks. And I got home from that experience, I sat on the couch and it was like a tsunami. Like, when adrenaline kicks in, you just do, you don't think. And that's what I was doing for several hours. So when I finally sat down and the tears just started pouring, it was immense. And I started typing notes on my phone almost immediately, just about how I was feeling, and more so just about the really wonderful aspects of what I saw, right? Like, I saw my neighbors going and knocking on doors and talking with each other immediately to check in with one another. And that was what I started writing. So the beginning part of my comments for the press conference were really, I think, an attempt to convey the spirit of the neighborhood, who we are as people, because none of that should be lost in the moment.
That's right.
Because incredible people, local people, stepped up in a moment when they could have, some people ran, and that's also okay.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But some people were strong in the moment in a way that allowed them to provide aid. And so I needed to document that. I also then later needed to really reflect on how do we move forward from this. And so on Monday evening, again, when I had a moment to sit down, I sat outside on my porch in the Old West End.
That's right.
I watched my neighbors still playing outside across the street from me. My neighbors who I love were having a little get-together. They already bought all the food. And so they just had only Old West Enders present. And I was listening to that while I was writing, and I was thinking to myself, all of the things they tell us to be safe were there. There were good people with guns there. There were, there were people that were ready to respond. We had more police officers there than we normally do.
That's right.
But this still happened. And this still happened after the Dayton shooting in 2019. And all I can think of as a millennial is this has been happening since Columbine.
I got to tell you something, Nick. We are very fast to your point, make a list of people to blame. We don't sit down and provide the same level of energy, the list of victims. And what I mean by that, it isn't 2 kids, it isn't one gang, and it isn't their parents. The list of victims is about 2 decades long, if not longer. Makes me feel a little uncomfortable to talk about victims in this as a white male. Because there are victims, and this is a decades-old problem. At the risk of passing the mic at a very difficult time, Rhonda, you are a leader in the African-American community, but in all communities. This isn't about race, right? This is about a community problem. You live in the 04, right, which is downtown. You work in a world-class facility that has done a lot of outreach. We talked a little about that already. And Caleigh, you have dedicated your life to spinning a positive. I don't want to lean into the superlatives here or put a silver lining on it. I want to talk about the roles that both of you have in our community, potentially even heightened more in the immediacy of the aftermath of the Old West End shooting.
I just want to say, Councilman, your words were very meaningful at that news conference.
Yes, they
we
were.
were both present there, and I thank you because you provided the most human response, and it was raw and it was very vulnerable, and that is so good to see as you have articulated as a leader. And Old West End is a magical place. I went to elementary school at St. Angela Hall there on Parkwood from 1st grade to 7th grade there. Every single Old West End festival, my class gets together at the Bumpuses, at the pig roast, and this is from elementary school, because it was such a magical school, but such a magical neighborhood. And we all get together at the Old West End Festival. We come in from all parts of the country and get together because the place meant so much to us, and this doesn't just isolate us. And we have to be careful assigning race. I mean, most
That's
crime
right.
happens intra-racially.
That's right.
I mean, that's what just happens. We have beef with people who live among us, who work among us, who look like us in all races.
That's right.
But that doesn't negate that there are some really profound issues. But I think all of our institutions are doing great work.
Agreed.
We're trying to do some things that maybe past institutions didn't do, and that was that outreach into the community and making sure that everyone has that sense of belonging. And that's what the museum has been doing. We're nurturing a sense of belonging, and people can see it. I mean, they do. They see it, and they're like, museum's a different place right now. And that's unusual for an arts and culture institution to even care.
Rhonda, I will tell you that you and I have talked about this quite a bit. There's a hashtag called Rhonda Spoken, but you've heard me say this a million times. What makes that a powerful and true statement is that Rhonda has listened, is really what makes the other thing possible. I think the Toledo Museum of Art has listened, right? And not because they had to or not because of an event. They are trying to embrace the people that live in the communities within a 2-mile radius. And again, I applaud both you and Adam and everyone on that team for doing so. The things we're talking about today are not about individuals or about an individual race. It is about our city. Caleigh, when you signed up for this, it was a wildly different show. And I know it's probably difficult to put on a Selling Toledo hat right now, so I will spare you some of that. But you are a mom, you are a leader, you are a brilliant young woman. Talk to me a little bit about Selling Toledo. Again, I will spare you that, the direct comparison here, and nothing should change. But when you talk about Selling Toledo and making Toledo a destination, even afterwards or before, what do you think about selling? What is Toledo to you?
Well, as Destination Toledo, our job is to be authentic about what we are saying about our city and to amplify what our city is all about. And so this is no different, because what makes us unique is our people. And so, yes, the tone is different, or how we are saying it is a little bit different, but we're trying to focus on the community. And like Vanice talked about, the positives that we saw that make our community truly special. That's what sets us apart as a destination. And that's really what we can put out to the world. And that's what we're here to do. So I have been happy to sit here this morning under different circumstances and just listen, because I'm very grateful to all of you for your leadership in our community.
Yeah, Caleigh, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. Again, we've been friends. Our kids went to the same daycare. Your kids were thriving, unlike the lot that I threw in there, which were my children. But it is important not just to spin things, right, but it is time to celebrate. You have to pick back up again. Yeah. You can always leave time or feel uncomfortable, but sometimes you just have to press on. Nick, I'm going to pass the mic back over to you. We've got about 4 minutes left in this segment. I only say that because we're talking about a heavy topic here today, and there's not a whole lot of answers, and there's no lack of complexity to this conversation. But this is going to put you a little bit on the spot. You are a capital D Democrat, right? And I don't want to politicize the show here. I have been doing some reflection in the aftermath of this, and I do think about how flippant I can be also. Here I am talking about not playing the blame game, and I am somebody who walks through every day of my life mocking things I see on the news and other leadership, indiscriminate with my political beliefs, right? That is, what is the value of Matt Killam saying those things out loud or joking around about it? So I'm interested in leadership in this way now becomes on both sides of the aisle, right? And throw away all policies and things of that variety, who's led bills and who hasn't, where money has gone and what isn't. But I bet there's a bit of a reset to you, right? There are Democrats and Republicans that live in the Old West End. There are Democrats and Republicans that were in the Arboretum. There are Democrats and Republicans that built our city, right? What is your guttural reaction after processing this in terms of unification?
So I mentioned in my comments at the press conference that bullets are indiscriminate. They don't care if you're a Democrat, they don't care if you're a Republican. They just rip apart lives.
That's right.
That's all they do. And so I would say I have been a person that's been highly critical of how Republicans have legislated around this. We live in a state where it's open carry. It's not difficult to get a gun. You don't need training. For most people, don't even need training to get it. I just think I think it's a lot to think about, right? Just how challenging that can be.
But the people in it, policy aside, when you think about your role as a convener, which you are, the Old West End is a convener of people, give me the humanity next. What do you want to do next? If you could wave a magic wand and gather a group of people, where would they be, and what would be the culmination of that gathering?
Well, I think that we have to get together and we have to be grown-ups about this.
Yes.
That's what is occurring to me right now. It's just that we can. All the things that I said are how I used to really approach this situation, but now that, it's not even just now that I've experienced it, but rather that it's so fresh and a huge part of my life at the moment.
Yes, sir.
It's very quickly transitioning how I'm even thinking about it. I don't care. All of the people that are currently commenting on my posts and trying to debate me and have these huge arguments, I don't know that I'm particularly interested in that right now. I only want to talk about what are the things that we agree on. There are many things that we all agree on, and there are people who are inactive on that, who have power and can do something about it. I think that we all, in this moment in time, calls for us all to come together and take action collectively anyways. This is just yet another example of things that we have to. I already said I've been watching these things happen since Columbine. I remember as a young person, I think I was in 7th or 8th grade, I remember seeing that and thinking, wow, this is so wild. And now it is just so almost normal. But it is not normal.
It's not normal.
What I'm experiencing, what we're all experiencing, is not normal. We shouldn't expect it to be.
Nick, as we close out here, we normally save a part of the segment for the insipid 419 quiz. It would
yes, I failed before.
It would definitely be inappropriate today. But I want to ask you the same question. The middle part is describe our community in one word. I don't remember what the word that you gave that time, but what is the word now? And it might be exactly the same. But if I ever put the quiz in front of you today, describe our region or community in one word. What is it?
I think resilient.
I'll take that.
That's good.
All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. We had, of course, Nick Komives. I don't know in what order you want me to describe this, so I'll tell you this. You are a good friend of the community. And then after that, you are a city council person and a leader in that space. So I thank you for your time, sir. I appreciate you picking up where I would have been a puddle and getting us to the next step. You're with the 419 here. I'm joined by two really great co-guests or hosts, if you will. Caleigh from Destination Toledo, Rhonda Sewell from the Toledo Museum of Art, but both people who plug in every day to make our region better, and we're going to all get out of this together. Thanks for listening.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
Destination Toledo. Whether you're a local or a visitor, Destination Toledo invites you to explore the region and be a tourist in Toledo. Find events, dining, and things to do at visittoledo.org.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And TARTA, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarta.com.
Welcome back to the 419. Of course, my name is Matt Killam. To my right, Rhonda Sewell and Caleigh Heuring from Destination Toledo. We had the first two segments, President of City Council, Vanice Williams, and of course Nick Komives from the Old West End and the City Council role. Tremain Rayford is here joining us from Program Inc. And again, I'll let the air out of the bag here. We are actually friends. It's great to have you on. We did not plan on segments like this being so synergized, but perhaps it's a larger metaphor of the fact that we are all connected in a myriad of ways. And whatever happens to us does remind us that we are connected in said ways, in some ways, but perhaps we didn't realize that we were so connected. So you're a friend of mine, man, but at the risk of people not knowing who you are, which is their loss, if you don't mind introducing yourself, we'll talk a little bit about what Program Inc. is.
Certainly. My name is Tremain Rayford, founder, CEO, secretary, marketing guy, trash guy, all for the Program Inc. And the Program Inc. is a nonprofit organization serving young men in absent father homes, teaching them life skills and social skills and how to effectively with the demands of everyday life.
We are thrilled to have you. Again, this seems like an appropriate time to talk about Program Inc., although it has been an appropriate time to talk about it. You didn't just make this up in a vacuum and say, hey, my community might need this. But Tremain, people come to a calling, what I believe this is, but those are my words, in a myriad of ways, right? Some of them are certainly financial. I can't imagine you're doing this to buy yourself a Ferrari and multiple homes across the country. What brought you to Program Inc.?
It was my life story. My dad wasn't around I remember seeing him 4 or 5 times before waking up out of a coma, 17 and a half years old. And that was like the beginning of me and my father's relationship. So I see myself in every single kid that I served because I was that fatherless kid that didn't know, how to change a tire or tie a tie or what being a man really was. So serving young men in absent father homes is a passion to me because it's almost like serving myself.
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you what, contrary to, past concepts of what being a man was like, one of the things that being a man should be like is being vulnerable and talking about the truth. So thank you for letting us get a piece of that. That didn't used to be the case. It was shut up, deal with it, and just keep trudging forward. So, Rhonda, I want to give it the microphone for you just a second. You are a leader in talking about all things here. I presume, Tremain, that the stalwart in your life was a female role model.
No, I had my grandfather.
Okay, your grandfather.
Other role models.
Yeah.
Just not present in the home. So and my grandfather was, you don't want to mess with my grandfather.
Yeah, sure.
Like to this day, you don't want to mess with my grandfather. So he was if he had to show up, it's too late. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right.
So he was that for us.
Rhonda and Caleigh, people in your life that were the role models or set the path, who were they to both of you?
Definitely my mom.
Yeah.
We have come from a very strong matriarchal family and component, but my mom set the tone. She was the role model, and she's such a gentle giant in her leadership, and not only the family. We call her the glue because she's the glue that keeps us all together. My dad too, as well. I had a very, very strong father and patriarchal role, which is important to girls as well. But that I so value what you are doing in the community. I was a catalyst for starting Real Men Read or Ready, that's now run by the Read for Literacy program, and it's specifically keyed on African American boys in the K through 3rd grade, and they are pairing with African American men who are working, coming in and reading to them three times a week. You would think that that was nothing, but it is something because they don't have positive role models. They might have male role models in their communities, but not always positive. And this is just really something profound. So I just value what you do with the program, Inc.
Caleigh, in your life, role models, when you would probably a list, not similar to what we talked about today, but anyone that stands out as the go-to, even if it was in a terrified state, as Tremaine mentioned?
I mean, honestly, I'm very fortunate to really have a village here. Both my families are from here, so I grew up around both my parents being very strong, independent entrepreneurs in their own rights, and also having my grandparents very present as well. So.
I'll tell you what, we talked about Destination Toledo, which of course you are a proud representative of, but Destination Home isn't something that everyone looks forward to going to. So Tremaine, talk about a little bit about making a destination through Program Inc. What you do, what the program does, and why it's so meaningful.
Yeah, so we host a number of workshops for a number of kids. We have a component that anyone can come to, free, open to the public.
Tremaine, when you say kids in this capacity, who are you serving?
So boy ages 8 to 18.
8
so
to 18.
we want to be proactive.
Yes.
We don't want to wait until kids are involved in violence, gangs, and all that stuff. We want to help direct them to a positive outcome.
Has the number 8 changed at all? Has it gone back? Is it earlier? What made that time frame where you're sinking your teeth in?
It started at age 7.
Yeah.
And then what we saw at age 7 was kids weren't as receptive.
We're getting it.
Right? They're in that play stage. They're like, I want to have fun,
Sure.
And at age...
That'd be nice to go back to that.
Yeah. At age 8 and 9, that's our kind of like relational equity building.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Where we're developing relational equity with the kids, and they're learning us and we're learning them so that we can speak into their lives.
So the program, talk me through a single day in the program. I'm sure there's a bunch of things, but if we were sending our child or we were participating in this, pretend like we're all 8-year-olds, one of us acts more like that than the other, and it is Caleigh. Talk to me about...
Thank God we have Rhonda here to help us.
Talk to me about what kids experience with you on a day basis, but program as a whole. Walk me through the days.
Yeah, so a workshop would look like kids arrive, our volunteers, our mentors are there to greet them, to let them know that we care, that we miss them. We start the workshop out with affirmations. A lot of times kids hear a lot of things about themselves that they don't speak about themselves. So
that's right.
It's very important that they can say the most important
where
things.
Where do they go? Where's there?
So we work with a number of partners around the city. We didn't want to be stationary because we got kids coming
100%.
from Portage, Ohio, Temperance. We got kids coming from Gibsonburg, Napoleon, Bowling Green. So what we do is we rely on our partners to host workshops.
You have to go to the kids.
Yeah.
That makes
so
sense.
we like to be in proximity to them because single mom, gas is high. They're not driving way out to Maumee or White House or East Side. They're not doing that. So we rely on our partners.
All right, so we've got the kids in. We've started our morning off, which is, again, not to be blown through, having a place that kids go, which they might not be coming from or accustomed to. A welcoming place is affirming. So we're already off to a good start. Bring us through the rest of our day.
So the rest of our workshops are usually hour and a half, 2 hours. So we would either have, contingent on the workshop, we will either have a subject matter expert come in to talk about financing, budget, financial literacy, things like that. We've also done things like we've taken kids in airplanes and the kids actually got to fly the airplane.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
You know, so I can only imagine we had a 12-year-old kid that didn't want to fly the airplane at all.
Yeah.
And then we ended up,
I get it.
we ended up coercing him to sit in the airplane and then talking him into driving around in the airplane, then talking him into going up. The pilot said a little bit, but he thought 6 feet was a little bit.
Tremaine, what you're talking about is an immensely complicated thing. What you're talking about is gaining trust, right? So talk to me about, and again, potentially I'm generalizing here, but we're talking potentially about the young men that come to you are not in a place of, their default isn't trust.
Right.
For good reason.
Right.
They are now in survival mode.
Yep.
Can you talk to me a little about the complexity of gaining trust for those that have been well served by not trusting?
Yeah, it's time. Studies show it takes about 16 months to gain trust of a kid.
Say that one more time. How long?
16 months.
16 months
to gain trust of a kid. So I think the way we do it, and we have like an innovative way of interacting with the kids, and we're so intentional, I think we speed up the time on that. So every time the kid sees us, they're like, oh, hey, Joey, how are you? How was the last thing that you did? Or what was the last, thing that you did? And they're like, oh, this guy really knows, and he really understands, and he really pays attention to what I'm doing and what my life is. So we speed up the trust with that.
I'll tell you what, it is a obvious thing that we all talk about, the immediacy of our culture and society, right? I mean, we get information fast, we get our food fast, we get things delivered, and now we've just set a 16-month window to, I don't know even the appropriate way of saying this, not untangle, unwire, defuse, something that, people have trained themselves to be for good reason. So you're already sort of, the odds are a bit against you, right? It takes a lot of time, and people don't want to give time. So can you talk a little bit, as young Tremain, what would this program have meant to you?
Man, it would have been everything. It would have kept me out of so much trouble. I was involved in, you name it, drugs, gangs, everything. And I think having a positive male role model, that someone I can talk to, someone that was fun, someone that was, the experiences that we have is bar none. But I think things like that would have changed my perception on life.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here in just a second. Frequently, I think all of our jobs, people say, well, why should I care, right? So I'm just gonna pick a random place. If you lived in, I don't know, I guess a golden fortress in a made-up suburb called Greenville, Toledo. They're like, oh, that doesn't happen in my neighborhood. Why should I care? Why should they care?
I mean, we all have to live together.
Yeah.
We all have to live together, and sometimes the violence that happens can happen in a place where you're not supposed to be at, or a place that you visit, grocery store, mall, anything. And it could be someone from absent father home committing these crimes.
You've probably got, I'm going to ask every one of you this question. You probably have, well, I hope that you have, because you deserve it. You probably have a long list of successes, things that keep putting wind in your sails. It's not an easy gig. But do you mind sharing one, and it certainly doesn't have to be having anyone's names, but a moment that is particularly treasured by you, or something that gets you out of bed or gets you out of the shower at the crack of dawn to go back to affirm a bunch of children who are not yours? Tell me a story that motivates you.
It's one of the most recent stories was a kid that he didn't know what he wanted to be in life. And we had the opportunity to partner with BGSU and Rudolph Libby and Lake Electric and Miller Brothers and all that stuff. And this kid, we take him down there, and he's 16 years old, and I can see the frustration on his face.
He's wearing it.
We go down there, and on the way down, he's like, oh, I want to be a plumber. I want to go to the Army to be a plumber. And I was like, I never heard people had to go to the Army to be a plumber. Like, you want to be a plumber in the Army? Or like, what does that look like? He gets down there, and he's playing with these remote control cars, like backhoe and like front loader and all that stuff. And then he sets down the remote control, and he comes to one of our guys, and he said, that's what I want to do. Right then and there, another guy, he points him to, and the guy goes, how old are you? He's 16. He said, oh, you can intern with us. He said, you can start working for us at 18, and by 21, you'll be making $35 an hour. And to see the look on this kid's face of hope, of, hey, this is an actual trajectory. This is an actual road that all I have to do is show up and work hard, and I can sustain my life, not only for me, but my wife, if I get married, children, my mom, my entire family, everything after me, after this opportunity, could be blessed simply because of the decision that I make.
Tremain, thank you very much for that. Caleigh, it might seem like an awkward transition into the question to you, but candidly, it isn't. You work every day at Destination Toledo, and sometimes you probably don't feel like Toledo is a destination and you want to pack up your family and move out right away, right? Work is work for a reason. But there have to be some moments in your relatively long career now with them, in my opinion, certainly in the way that we look at modern workforce. But there are moments that re-inspire you about our region or us as people.
Yeah, I think what bringing in visitors does for the people who live here actually reaffirms that there is something to be proud of, that other people want to experience. And I think that positive affirmation is something that then just kind of feeds the cycle of people here being proud of what they have and then inviting others to come experience. So getting to see that in real time is part of what really, affirms what I get to do, and being part of conversations that are important in our community, even though, what I do seems not directly related to a lot of what we're talking about today. It is a part of who we are. So
thank you for that. Tremain, I'm going to toss it back to you as we close out here. How can people be involved in the program, and how can they support you? Tell us where to go.
Sure. You can go to our website, programinc.org. There's a volunteer application. There's you can support financially. There's other ways, non-cash donations, things like that. But we would love to have people volunteer. We need volunteers.
I'm going to close out on this, Tremain. Wave a magic wand and disregard funding in all practicality. If you could make everything different tomorrow, what would be the first thing that you would do?
I would make it so that all of our youth would be confident enough to face all their fears and to overcome all the obstacles that they face daily.
It's a beautiful statement coming from a great guy. I thank you for your friendship. I thank you for what you're doing every day. I know you've got a team behind you we didn't get to, but you do talk about them a great deal. We're closing out here another episode of the 419. Heavy topics, but it's a big city with real problems, but we've got real answers within each other when we stand together. So thanks for tuning in to the 419. We'll be back to close out this show.
You laughed with us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure your childhood was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertain, inform, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
All right, welcome back to the closeout of the 419. It's one of the last shows without Kevin and Gretchen. I cannot wait for them to get back for a myriad of reasons, but I do want to thank the two of you for standing in. We have snagged Rhonda now on multiple segments and shows, so I love you. It was great to have you sitting to my right here this morning, and it'll be great to have you next to me as I live in this community. You were a great friend of mine and a great friend of the community. Caleigh,
sure.
I've known you for the better part of a decade. Better part are my words, but I certainly want to, certainly today it feels right to tell people you love them, so I love you both. A complicated show, right? Usually more so than we deal with here, a lot to celebrate, but if I could give you guys, if we have a minute to talk about our feelings of reflection here, your thoughts on being on the program and our leaders today.
Well, I think the leaders that we had today, it was all types of topics, but we looked at community service, public service, but also some of the heavier topics and the incident that just occurred. We were militant about the validity of our truth as a community. It is a great community,
yes,
and good comes out of, as Councilwoman said, the triumph is there. So,
Caleigh?
I mean, as a Toledoan and a mom of boys, I'm grateful. I'm grateful we have people like this in our community.
Well, I can say that to the both of you as well, and it's really in earnest fashion. Again, thanks for tuning in, as you usually do, to the 419. Indiscriminate when you get this show. I think the sentiment will always be true. 419, brought to you by Reacher Wealth Management, of course, brought to you by WGTE. There's a myriad of ways to listen and plug in the WGTE, but remember that public radio brings you content that is about you and about what made us who we are today. We're proud to be a part of WGTE as part of the 419, and be under this umbrella has been one of the great things I've been able to participate in my life. So thank you, WGTE, and thank you, Reacher Wealth Management, for making it all happen. We'll talk to you very soon, and we'll talk about the silly things we normally do, but today we want to end with just the fact that we are grateful for our community and all of us as a whole.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you.